Hey guys, we're here with a special guest, SvnmS, who is high ranked on Dueling Book with Dogmatika. And so maybe I'll just get you to introduce yourself and maybe why you decided to play this deck for this format.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And well, the reason I like playing this deck is just the number of flex spots. Like the deck recently got Dogmatic Atrix, which is another big starter. It's basically like more copies of Nadir, sometimes even better than Nadir. So having like a lot of just one card starters lets you play a lot of flex spots. You just need to see one or two playmakers, and then everything else can just be like good cards that you can use to like break boards or yeah.
So maybe I'll just
Yeah.
start with the deck list. So we do have the 3 Nadir Servant, the 3 Dogmatika Matrix, 3 Ecclesia, the 1 Albaz, and then we have some the Fleur de Lis, White Relic, and the White Knight. Maybe we'll stop there. Actually, maybe I'll cover the
Mm-hmm.
Dogmatika Macabre
Yeah, let's
and
cover
the
all of them.
Calamity. Maybe if I think some of the newer cards, maybe you can help explain what they're used for.
Yeah. So Dogmatic Atrix basically adds two cards, one Dogmatica ritual monster or spell, and then you can add any Dogmatica card from your deck to your deck from your deck to your hand. And that this only works going second. If your opponent controls a monster, you can add two cards. Otherwise, you'll only be adding one. And then it has an additional effect which lets you send a monster from the extra deck to the graveyard from any player's extra deck, provided you have a ritual monster, which the card lets you summon very easily. So yeah, it adds two, and then it can pop a card or search another ritual monster or yeah, any other possible extra deck send like Garura, more generic things. So it's a very strong one card starter. It's basically just like Nadir, which also adds two cards. Ecclesia can also search Dogmatic Atrix, which is another strong point that it has over Nadir. Nadir is not searchable. You have to hard draw it, whereas Dogmatic Atrix can be searched by Ecclesia. So that gives it basically makes Ecclesia a much better starter. And then there's also branded fusion. We'll also talk more about that probably a bit later when we take a look at the extra deck, and they'll explain why it's good in this deck specifically. And yeah, you have the ritual cards in Dogmatica. You have White Relic, which it basically gains the attack of one monster on the field, and White Knight, which sends a monster from both players' extra decks if your opponent activates any card. So you're generally using White Knight to send Entis during your opponent's turn or whenever they activate any card, and you rip their extra deck for like one card. So it's basically the main interruption of the deck. It's not that strong, but when you're going second and you've already like broken through most of their stuff, it's generally enough, especially like when you back it with the number of like just hand traps or spells that you can set, quick plays or traps. It's generally enough. And then obviously Fleur de Lis and Punishment, they're well-known cards. Pop card and negate, and yeah, that's for the Dogmatica engine.
Awesome, thanks. And then we also had a new card in Thrust as well, and then some Bestials, the 3 Rebellion, 3 Magnet, and the 1 Druid's Worm. What are your thoughts on these ratios? I know with Branded, a lot of people are moving towards 1 Rebellion and playing a lot of Sereners instead, or maybe even just one Serener, and that's it. What are your thoughts on the Bestial package?
Yeah, for this deck, they're mostly working as a way to bait for triple tactic Thrust, because Thrust can add Branded Fusion and Nadir. It's basically three more copies of. It's also another card that only works going second. So Thrust and Matrix really make you want to play this deck as a go second deck. And so Rebellion basically is if you think about it and maybe squint your eyes a little bit, you'll figure it'll feel like a pank, like you use it, get a Magnumot, summon the Magnumot, summon Rebellion back, and get a pop through like Branded Beast. So kind of a board breaker, but also functions as like an engine that lets you like get more interruptions later on. So yeah, like that's how I think about it. The main reason I'm running it, or like the bestial package in the main, is because I do want to run like a bigger bestial engine against certain decks, so that post side I can have a lot of like graveyard disruption. I don't like the fact that Drytron becomes relevant again. That deck, it's weird. Like Kashtira is like the one of like the main considerations in the meta, and the cards that are good against Kashtira are generally board breakers. And whenever people are playing board breakers, Drytron just comes out of the woods and goes, yeah, I'm going to FTK you, like nice Dark Ruler, Sphere mode, whatever. I'm just going to like floodgate you out of using any monster card using the Chaos Max like monster. A lot of like decks like that generally float up whenever like people switch to board breakers. So the bestials are also just good against branded and really useful against labyrinth. Having a lot of bestials, like you change them to Lady Labyrinth and they can't set any trap anymore. It kills their grind and lets you actually win the game. So they're very versatile. Like even if the deck doesn't have darks or like light monsters in the graveyard, as I said, like Lubellion just puts like a Magnemite on the field, which is a big body you can punch over things, and then you can summon it back and pop a card. So it kind of forces them to use an interruption, just like Bankratoffs, and that lets you like use your thrust or just bait for Nadir or Branded Fusion if you have those directly. But yeah, that's how I'm using them as
Awesome.
hand
No,
traps and
that's great.
board
Thanks for
breakers,
the explanation. That's really cool interaction, actually. And then I guess some board breakers that you were speaking of. We do have the Triple Ash, Triple Book of Eclipse, and the 3 Nibirs. Don't think there's anything too special to mention this. How do you like these as your board breakers in the main?
Well, there is like Branded Fusion in the game, so you play Ash. I like Branded Fusion and Big Welcome Labyrinth. Ashing those is really, really, really good value. So I'm always going to keep Ash in the main, even though it's not that good against Kashtira. You can see that I'm not really like the main deck is not focused on Kashtira at all. Like I have the Ashes, I have the Bestials, I do have like the Eclipse, the Nibiru, but it's only those that are good against Kashtira. Because I feel that if I main for Kashtira, I'm just going to like have a hard time against pretty much everything else. Kashtira is kind of like Fluwandereeze in that the counters to it are generally not that good against everything else. So I'd rather have my main work against everything else and then side for the Kashtira matchup.
No, that's
So
definitely a
how
good
I've
strategy.
been doing it, yeah.
Okay, so that's great. Maybe moving on to the extra, we do have the 1 Albion Dragon, 1 Mirror Jade, triple Entis, 1 Garura, 2 Ash Dragon, double Herald, the 1 Omega, and the 1 Aggregator, as well as double Lingaribo and the new Tri-Brigade Link monster. Anything you'd like to talk about the extra deck?
Yeah, well, let's start with the Albion and the Mirror Jade. So Albion serves two purposes. The first one is you're going to make it with Branded Fusion. So when you activate Branded Fusion, you have two choices. Well, you're obviously sending Albaz, and then you either send a Lubellion if you have a Bestial, or you can send White Knight of Dogmatika. So the ritual spell Dogmatika Macabre summons from the graveyard. So using Branded Fusion, you're going to summon Albion, threaten the Mirror Jade. So that's going to like deal with an interruption or two, and it also puts White Knight in the graveyard, and that generally like is just it's basically as if you opened a White Knight, but you also have a Mirror Jade with it. That's basically it. That's what Branded Fusion does. If you already have White Knight or you expect your Albion to be negated, you send the Lubellion instead. And then if Albion doesn't get negated, you have a Mirror Jade. If it does get negated, you can send it to the graveyard and summon Lubellion and have more interruptions that way. Another play with Branded Fusion is that you use it to out a Rise Heart. And you do that by use Branded Fusion. You just banish Albaz and any 2500 attack monster, Nibiru or like Lubellion or whatever, and you summon Titanic Lad. Titanic Lad gains attack because of because of its effect. It just gets the levels time 100. So if you send Nibiru and Albaz, you get like 1,300 more. 1,500 more. So it becomes 4,000, and then you just beat over a Rise Heart, and they can't out it with a Rise Heart because it's unaffected by the effects of monster summons from the extra deck. The last use, which rarely happens, is you dump Lubellion, like not against Kashtira. Like against other decks, you can put Lubellion in the graveyard and Albaz and summon Titanic Lad, and then you put Titanic Lad in the graveyard to summon Lubellion back. This gives you like access to the Dogmatika engine if you just don't draw any of your starters, and you expect there's going to be a grind game and you can't OTK with Branded Fusion, maybe Bestials or whatever you drew. So that's another way to access the engine. So yeah, it's just it's very versatile. Like you bait threats with it. It's generally the first play in your turn because Nadir, Ecclesia, like a lot of things just lock you out of the extra deck. So like the first thing you do is just activate Branded Fusion, bait an interruption or two, get some value if it doesn't get interrupted, and that's it. And obviously it's just good going first.
Okay. Anything else about the extra deck you'd like to mention before we move to the side?
Um, I guess, well, Intus is self-explanatory, so is Herald. When you use Dogmatic Calamity to summon Relic, you're going to send a Herald to search more or Intus to pop cards. Garura obviously just good with Nadir when you're getting Ecclesia to draw one. The Tri-Brigade link just sends Garura, so it's just for like punishment. It's mainly there for lovely labyrinth thing that has 2,900 attack. I don't remember the name, but this is the only monster that you can send to out lovely labyrinth, so it's necessary. And then there's Aggregator. It's generally not good, but you play it because of Runic Fountain. Like when you activate Nadir, you send this and you negate the fountain because you cannot pop the fountain. Yeah, the level 2 Runic fusion monster protects from pops. So the way you deal with that is Aggregator. So that's the main reason it's there. Yeah.
Nice.
Omega is obviously for recycling resources. Lingeribo, it never came up. I don't know. No one summons Ibli against me. Well, I guess it's mainly because they look at my extra deck, they see the Lingeribo, so no one sides it in, I suppose. I'm pretty sure that the moment I cut it, I'm going to regret it, but so far it didn't come up. It's just chilling there. It's just been like sitting.
Pretty flexible. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And I guess lastly to the side, you have a lot more Bestial. There's double Druidworm, the 1 Regain, and the 3 Baldrake. And then you have triple Evenly, triple Imperm, and the triple Book of Lunar Eclipse. Anything about the side you want to mention?
Yeah, so the side, it's well, the bestials are there again for like Labyrinth. I just always have something to train for, like to Lady Labyrinth, and I get some grind with Branded Beast. You can also like set Branded Beast, like a lot of the time. This is an interaction I didn't speak about before, but now since we're talking about bestials, we can talk about it. But yeah, Dogmatika sends monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard, so you can send Albion from the extra deck to set Branded Beast if you have a Magnemouton in your hand or like any other bestial. So you can get to the Branded Beast without needing to see Libellion or Magnemouton. So any bestial you see is going to turn into like pops later on, thanks to Branded Beast. But the main reason they're there are, well, the branded matchup. Bestials are really good against the branded matchup. You hit punishment, branded in red, the Albions before they set things. They're really good. And against Drytron, I hate that deck. I don't know why Benton is at 3. Please remove that card. I know the deck is not good. I hate it. I don't like FTK decks. And although I do have fun against them because a lot of them they get very angry when they see the Bestials. They're like, why are you playing this in Kashtira meta? I'm like, because I hate Drytron more than I hate Kashtira. So yeah, like, these things are never leaving. They're just they're basically the best secondary engine I found. I tried to play Kashtira as the secondary engine. It's good, but it does nothing against Labyrinth. The untargetable Lady Labyrinth it basically stops everything. And the Bestials are a lot more useful in that you stop their grind and they let you pop the back row with Branded Beast, so that's good. Yeah, they're basically hand traps. That's what I use them as, and a secondary grind engine. Evenly, Imperm, and Lunar Eclipse are what I side in against Kashtira. So I have 8 Bestials in the main, and they all go out, and 1 Ash, and I side in 3 Evenly, 3 Imperm, and 3 Lunar Eclipse. I was on Lava Golem, but I changed to Lunar Eclipse mainly because a lot of the time Kashtira will make you go first. And if you go first with golems and evenlies in your hand, you're not going to have a good time. And they can also OTK in Ender 5 summons, so Nibiru's will not help you either. So it's important to be prepared. Like after you win a game, you have no idea if you're going first or second. So maining or like siding lava golems in when you're not sure is really weird. You can lose a lot of games because of that. So
right. You want
despite
something
the
more
fact that the
flexible,
discard
right?
generally hurt. Yeah. Like something I can set, like they summon Unicorn, I can use Eclipse. And, a lot of the time it ends their turn. Sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of the time it does. And that's really good. So these are
Awesome.
They're also like, yeah, the Evenlies are obviously just good against back row decks. So you can side out the Nibiru's against those and side in. Eclipse is weird. Like sometimes I want to side it against back row decks, sometimes I do not. I do keep it against Runic stun. Because Eclipse against Runic stun is you basically book their fusion monster, and then they cannot protect their fountain anymore. It also protects your own Ecclesia from skill drains and imperms and stuff like that. Eclipse is really, really good against runic stun for some reason. So I've been keeping it despite it despite that not being like an obvious choice. At least it wasn't for me until like one day, just like played into them and I had an Eclipse in hand. I was like, oh, I have to side this game I have to side it out, but it performed really well, and I decided to start keeping it from then on. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's basically the gist of it.
Okay, well, I mean, that was very insightful. So thank you again so much for the deck profile. Any last shout-outs?
Yes, shout-outs to Tublinario for showing me this this concept, basically. I was a Mech Knight player before, and then he said, hey, did you know like the new Dogmatika card that came out? It plays going second, and he knows I like going second. So we took a look at the list, and then we started deck building. And now I started playing it on ladder, and I'm really enjoying the decks. It's like the first deck I'm enjoying since Mech Knights. I always like playing go second decks. Generally, that's like you get more interaction that way. You're breaking boards, like actually interacting with your opponent instead of just doing a combo yourself. So yeah, this is like the other go second deck, and I've been having fun with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for the deck profile, and take care, everyone.
Thank you for having me.